can't take that for granted, but it's just those little things, man, that's just awesome. That adds on to that foundation. Just hey y'all, it's Keisha.
And this is Tyler.
And this is How's the Fam.
So How's the Fam is your podcast about family, friends, and growth. Y'all, we're continuing our series on Brick by Brick. This is actually the very last one. And Brick by Brick is literally us explaining how you can build the foundation to a relationship that can stand the test of time, okay? Now, today's topic is actually what happens when you have a solid foundation in your relationship, okay? Low-key could have been the first one, but it's the last one, man. And we're just going to sum up that what if you put what we talked about in the last 3 episodes into actual action. If you actually come up with a plan and make it happen, you're going to see some fruitful things appear in your relationship, okay? Now, if that sounds good to you, please stick around because I think you're going to enjoy what comes next, right? But before we get into it, we have a segment called Just Checking In that we start every podcast with. Now, Kiki, Just Checking In is, I don't know why I did that like you knew. Just Checking In is just us just checking in with the people, all right? Kiki, you want to start it out? You got a Just Checking In story for the people?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It just amazes me how your first child is really your guinea pig for like a lot of things.
Yeah.
And one thing we're dealing with now, we have to decide if we're going to continue her in the same school or put her in a different school. And it's just...
That's tough, man.
I don't know. We don't want to be wrong, but I mean, I'd rather figure it out now than later on in school because, like, once you start like in that class, if you're a certain amount of kids, you get used to them. But if you keep changing all the time, it's like, man, I'm used to making a new friend every week. I mean, every year. So I want her to finally get relaxed and start to be with kids she potentially is gonna graduate with, you know? So it just, we want to make the right decision, but I mean, we have to give ourselves some grace a little bit. And if we do make the mistake and this probably the worst decision to send her to this other school, okay, it's cool. It's 1 year. It's 1 year. We just got to get through it, you know?
And my Just Checking In stories, y'all. I'm trying to get organized in like every avenue of my life. For those of you who know me, I'm not the most organized person. I'm not the least organized person by far. But I'm definitely not very organized by any stretch of imagination. So what that looks like for me is like I'm going through clothes that I know I'm not going to wear, like clothes that I don't really like. I went through the girls' toys. I'm about to drop some of those off of donations. Keisha's donating quite a few of the girls' toys to just different people in our different groups. If you watched the episode, then you know we have a godly circle. We have other married people that we communicate with on the regular. And so we just declutter. We got a new rug. We're going to get rid of the old rug. You know, just little stuff like that. Like trying to get some of the stuff out of the house because we're about to start decorating these walls, right? And before Keisha starts the decorating process, I definitely want to go ahead and clear out like all the stuff the stuff that's just dead weight. Like I want it to be
the
organized.
stuff you end up moving around all the time. Yeah. It's like I'm always moving the same thing. Right. What is it here for?
Right. Pretty much. Yeah.
Get rid of it.
The clothes that end up in the chair, but could be on the hanger. Right? They could be on the hanger because those clothes you always wear. They always end up in the chair because you ain't got no room because all that good stuff. So we're gonna get rid of the clothes we don't like and all that good stuff. Like just going through the whole process so we can have a clean house and like all the time. And yeah, maybe just like a little comparison trap type of thing. But I feel like when I go in other people's houses, it'd be always clean. Even though they swear up and down, they'd be like, we just cleaned up this house.
So messy. Yeah.
It's so messy right now. And then you walk in and like, they must think I'm a monster. Because my house ain't nowhere near this level. So, yeah. Yeah, that's me. That's what we're dealing with. But we're about to get into it, y'all. That's been Just Checking In. You guys, meat and potatoes time, right? It's time to get your daily serving, right? And, we're ending an awesome segment. I've enjoyed a lot of the DMs. I've enjoyed just coming up with all of this. I've enjoyed creating this with my beautiful, beautiful wife. Brick by brick, you guys, we're building the foundations to a successful marriage. A marriage that will stand the test of time. And like what happens when you actually have those foundations in place. And again, 7, the number of completion, stability, trust, trials and temptation, peace, growth, oneness, and then love. Okay. Those are the 7 that I've come up with, and those are the 7 that we're about to break down right now. All right, no chasing. So it starts with stability, and stability is exactly what stability sounds like. Ain't no tricks, ain't no hiding, ain't no smoke and mirrors. Like when you have a solid foundation in your relationship, you have stability, whether it be financial stability, emotional stability, physical stability. You know where your next meal is coming from. You know where you're about to lay your head. You know who you're going to talk to, right? Is it predictable? Yes. Is it somewhat boring? Could be. Like, it depends on what you got set up. But there is a stability that comes with having a solid foundation. And when you have that solid foundation like that, you are more resilient. Okay, you become more resilient through that stability. Now, Kiki, what you got to say with that?
I agree with that. It's kind of like what you know. It's that comfort zone, pretty much. And so the world is, you don't know what you're going to get the next day. You don't know what you're going to get at work. You don't know what you're going to get driving on the road. You don't know. But it's that sense of, you know what, when I get home, I know my wife going to ask me how my day was. I know my kids are going to hide from me when I unlock the door, and they're going to jump out and say, boo! I mean, just the simple things like that. It's like, I know I'm going to get that. And if I don't, something's wrong. Something's wrong. But you can't take that for granted, but it's just those little things, man, that's just awesome. That adds on to that foundation. Just, it's what you know.
It feels great.
Yeah.
It truly feels great. Like there's the way I like to put it is, if you've never been in a championship game, then a championship game will scare you. Like it's terrifying. All the people watching, people you know, people you don't know. The other team's good as you supposedly. You don't know like how you're gonna respond. You don't know how you're gonna perform. But when you've been battle tested, when you've been in this situation before, you react a lot different than when it's your first time. And you've been around. At this point, the stability means you've been around the block once or twice. And when you've been around the block once or twice, you're a bad boy, all right, or bad woman. All right? Now, the second one is trust. Okay, trust meaning, again, I started it out with trust, and obviously, trust is one of the foundational things. Again, I think we said trust is earned in buckets, not earned in buckets. Trust is lost in buckets, but earned in drops. Okay, now you learn. Through having a solid foundation, you learn the true meaning of trust, right? The true meaning that just because my spouse is out there doesn't mean my spouse is out there wilding, right? Just because like my spouse like is into a lot of things and I'm not into all those different things doesn't mean that I can't trust my spouse when they go out into these different circles, right? There is a beauty in knowing that the person that you've chosen always has your back, no matter what. No matter what line, no matter who's talking to them, whether it be their mama, whether it be their best friend, whether it be their grandmama. If somebody say something slick about your spouse got your back. All right. Your spouse got your back. All right. And also knowing that you can go out into these different circles and just know, like, you know, your spouse ain't checking the GPS on your phone and be like, wait, he said that he was going here, but he didn't say he needed to get gas. I was like, yo, man, like, you know, you're able to walk in that freedom. You're able to walk in your purpose when you don't have to constantly worry about your spouse checking in on you, right? The true definition of trust. Now, Kiki, what you got to add about trust and all the things that come with it?
Having that trust is everything, because it allows you to be at ease and have this true comfort in your relationship, because you don't constantly worry, you don't constantly assume, you don't constantly have to check on certain things and put your spouse through different tests and things like that. I know some people that test their significant other all the time and just like, wow, you want them to fail? Like,
they will fail.
At some point you're gonna fail as a person. I mean, it could be a small fail, it could be a big one, but I mean, as a person, you can only take so much, and you don't want your spouse to just have, it's kind of having doubt on your spouse that, I don't trust you because I know you're going to mess up. Like, you can't be good. You can't be great. You're not going to make it. And it's just adding on more and more to the stability of your relationship and just setting it up to fail in a way. And you got to build up the trust. You got to have trust in your relationship, and you have to really focus on that. So, and there are situations where your trust is lost, and you have to work on building it back up. And not to say you can't build it back up, but you have to trust that that person will put in the work and the effort to help build that trust back up to get you probably not where you were, but in a better spot. And you do have situations where you have to work on it like that.
That's real, man. Yeah, it's real. Trust is a beautiful thing to have. It's a tragic thing to lose. Yeah. But trust is extremely important, and it's one of those things you have in buckets if you have a solid foundation. Now, trials and tribulations is another thing that follows having a solid foundation. Now, some of y'all probably like, now if I have a solid foundation, why I got different trials and tribulations? It's because when everything is going great, around the corner, there's always a trial, there's always a test. Now, it might not be major, it may not be impactful, right? It might not be impactful, right? But that doesn't mean that it's ever present. I'm not speaking bad things in your life. I'm not speaking bad things in your relationship. not by any stretch of the imagination, right? But as you find these new heights, as you start achieving things you never achieved before, as you begin to grow in your relationship, and get closer, there are things that come up. There are things that happen, and it will test your relationship, right? Just know that it is present, and you are responsible for making it happen. Like, you're responsible for going through those tests because you want to know why. As you get tested, you become stronger, and the more tests that you go through, the more resilient your relationship truly becomes. All right. Now, Kiki, you have anything to add to that?
And it's not to look at trials as always being a bad thing. Yes, there are trials. I mean, come on. But any trial that I personally went through alone, when I got to the other side of it, I celebrated and I rejoiced and I praised God for it. And so when you go through a trial together, when you both kind of losing your way or not having the faith to like keep you going, that's the time where you both can go together and go to God and like, hey, God, just bring us through this trial, like, please do. And it kind of brings y'all closer because y'all as a unit are coming to God to help you get through this one thing or different things. And so it just goes back to their relationship with Him. Everything starts to point up after a while. And so I mean, yes, trials, you don't want to go through them, but when you do, when you get to the other side, it's a blessing. And you have to rejoice in it. And then also you have to remind yourself that your trial and your testimony for that trial could help somebody else later on.
It will.
So most of the time it will. It will help somebody else. Yeah. So yeah, you have to look at the bright side of it too.
Yeah. And that is trials. That is trials. Okay. Next, when you have a solid relationship, we have a solid foundation, right? You find peace, all right? You get this incredible peace. And the story that I always tell people that is like unbelievable. It's awesome because as I tell people this story, before they get married, they call me up and be like, yo, Tyler, I feel what you was talking about. me and Keisha, we lived in sin. I'm not going to even I ain't going to even stop. We lived in sin. Like, we was fornicating before we was married and all that good stuff, right? So we was getting it in and all this other stuff. In fact, we lived together, and it's funny because like the pastor, one of the pastors at the time was like, "Yeah, man, I should consider like you can move in with me, and then Keisha can stay in the apartment that you paid for." And I was just like, nah. And it's funny, I ain't fully understand what he was talking about, but this is what he was talking about. He was like, yo, you shouldn't be living this here. But it's funny because we got married, and like on our wedding night, it's what we ate our food at the wedding, and that was like the only meal I ate that day. I think it was only meal that day. And we actually ended up getting Wendy's.
So dude, in the drive-through line with my wedding dress.
In the dress and everything. It was weird. But that night we went to sleep. And I ain't gonna lie to you, that was the deepest sleep I've ever experienced. Like that was the most. And then I woke up, and I was the most peaceful I've been in. I want to say ever, but not quite ever, because I felt that same peace the night after Liana was born. Like when she was finally here, that night I slept very, very good in a very uncomfortable place. I slept very good. But I mentioned this because I didn't understand true peace until I got married to Keisha and I experienced what true peace was. Like at that time, Keisha was my vice. Like that was the person I was like, I can't do it without Keisha. Like I can't go without being with Keisha. Can't go without getting it in. You know, all this other stuff, right? And so to have that vice essentially taken away from me, and like now it's like, yes, I was living in sin, but now I've been made whole, and it was just something about it. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I pray that one day you will. But there's just a peace that I've never experienced before, and that is like what having a true foundation will get you. You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, having that peace and that strong foundation. If you think of an actual house, if you are worried about some cracks in your foundations, you have no time to think about anything else, because if it keeps cracking, it's gonna eventually the house gonna fall in. So when you're at peace, you know that foundation is set. So you get to focus on the other parts of your house and start to build it up. Like we was talking about, we're gonna simplify our house and put pictures and stuff on the wall, make it more home, because we know our foundation is set. We ain't worry about it. We get to spruce up our home and focus on our relationships inside the home as well. So, yeah.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace is awesome.
It's a great byproduct. It's a great byproduct. Mm-hmm. Now, growth. Growth is another one, right? Now, I mentioned growth multiple times. That who you are is not who you will. Like who you are when you get married isn't who you will always be. Who your spouse is when you get married is not who your spouse will always be. Like these are constants. Like this is a thing, all right? And that you have to be able to adapt. But one of the things you start to appreciate as you have a solid foundation is that you get to see somebody else grow into something incredible, right? I've watched Keisha through every transition in life. Like, and it's just because we've been together for a long time. We've been together for 14 years. Mm-hmm. But we've been married for 6 of those 14 years. Well, going on 7. And like the transformation that Keisha's had in these 6 years has been nothing short of incredible, right? Incredible. Like it's if I was holding on to the person that she was when I first got married, I'd be a very, very upset, poor-minded person, because who she is now is leaps and bounds better than the person I initially married. Not to say you was a bad person.
Yeah.
But just who you've become is just beautiful. And you get to see that both on your spouse's side and also on yourself. Because I look at myself and I'm just like, yeah, you a couple pounds heavier, dog. So, but you're incredible. You're a stand-up dude. You're a stand-up guy. And Keisha, you got anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, the growth is pretty awesome. I mean, when you start to go through different things in your life, you tend to just naturally grow anyway.
Yeah.
But actually witnessing your other half growing and just maturing in a way, and just
navigating the world.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome to witness. It's pretty neat. So we get to do that with each other, and we also get to do that with our kids now, because I promise you, kids change every day. I think they like macaroni and cheese, and next day I can't stand it, and I'm just like, what happened? We just ate this. What? So
I don't get it either. They just be trying us. I think so. That's really what it comes down to.
Like, well, how are we gonna test mommy and daddy today? And that's it.
You don't want to test our gangster, cuz don't worry. Don't you worry.
But you want to see you want to see the people in your life grow, and yeah, when they do, it's pretty awesome.
Especially in like, I don't know. One of the earlier questions I had when we first started the podcast is, can you grow while you're in a relationship? And like 100% yes.
Yeah.
100% yes. If anything, you grow faster when you're in a relationship, because you got somebody constantly holding you accountable, right? Now, Kiki, the next one, that has been growth, okay? The next one is oneness, all right? Now, keep in mind, I said the original goal of marriage is oneness, trying to achieve oneness with you, your spouse, and God, right? You constantly want to be in communication with God so that you can constantly, literally navigate life the way that He wants you to navigate life. So you can become the relationship that He needs you to be so He can further the kingdom, right? And like that oneness is one of the things that you get to achieve when you have a strong foundation, right? And navigating oneness, I ain't gonna lie to you. Initially, I ain't like it, right? Because it calls you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And also it causes you to be responsible for things that you may consider, it's like, man, this is holding me back, right? But then you get like years down the road and you start to recognize it's like, yo, I'm so glad I did whatever that was I did. I'm glad I was called to do it. And like you just that much better, that much stronger, that much more resilient because of it. Not only as an individual, but like literally as a relationship. Now, Kiki, what do you have for that one?
Yeah, it's just remembering that when you make decisions in your life, you're not just making it for yourself anymore. You're making it for your significant other, and if you have kids, for your kids as well. So you can't, in some things you can be selfish in a little bit, but for the most part, most of your decisions, you have to keep your family in mind. And so just that kind of mentality helps with the oneness, of keeping that oneness of your family. Because if you're selfish all the time, then you ain't one. You ain't thinking about your family. You all for you. You
so
just
all for one and one for me.
Yeah. So it's just a easy way to kind of think about it as being one. You just every decision you make, every step you take, you're gonna keep everybody in mind.
I thought you were every step you take, I'll be missing you.
You're so funny.
Oh man, I butchered that by the way. But that is oneness, y'all. Oneness is very important. It's again what I consider one of the top goals of marriage. And then my very last one, y'all, is love. Probably shouldn't have said it like that. I want to edit it, but I'm not. I'm gonna leave it. One of the goals is love, okay? And love, you truly like similar to peace. Similar to peace and similar to truth. You truly get to understand what being loved and loving someone is, right? Like, and they're different actions, same result, right? I mean, yeah, the love I have for this woman right here, like, I can't measure it. It's hard for me to describe at times, right? But I will always be here for you. And I will always do whatever it takes to make sure, like, this family is both provided for. And that you are, like, just emotionally, physically, and, like, spiritually fed, right? I will always do that for you. And, like, that's, like, it just is what it is, y'all. And it's unconditional. It's unconditional, and it's just ever present, right? And it's both like it's a two-way street too. Like I feel completely loved by Keisha, even when I be mad at her, I still just completely loved by her. Kiki, what you got in terms of love?
Yeah, I mean, when you are brought into this world and you get raised by whoever raises you, you hope that there's love there, but we can always remember that our number one love is God. Oh. And so he definitely had unconditional love toward us because he sent his only son down here to die for our sins. Before we even came into this world, we were already spoken for. Mm-hmm. Which is awesome. So if he can have that kind of love for us, I mean, we can definitely give our love to other people. And it's even better when you have it to that one person that you can do this thing called life with, to put all your love and have an unconditional love towards them. So y'all can just make it in this world together. I mean, man, we're as a human race, we're meant to be with people. Yeah. It don't necessarily have to be marriage for say, but we're supposed to surround our people surround ourselves with people, because we're not meant to be in this world alone.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about marriage, because yeah, it should be an ultimate goal to get married. But if you don't have the luxury to do that, then make sure you're surrounded with people who love you. I mean, it's somebody out there that, you know what, I need a friend that I can just be there for me and just love me. And to have someone is better than nothing. And so you never know. You can just have someone like that, and they ended up being the one. You don't even realize it, that they're in your corner, and like, oh, you were meant for me. Okay, come on, come on, come on. Let's do this thing. Because I mean, it's different people I know who say they would never get married, and then turn around, you look like, hold on, engaged, wait, married. Like, what happened? What?
I will never get married.
I'll never get married. You have those people who say I refuse to have kids, and they find a relationship. They're like, you know what? I may not want to have kids, but I'm gonna have kids with this person right here. I'm gonna give this man some kids, man. I'm gonna make it happen. So yeah, love is awesome. Love is fun. So yeah, go out there loving people, man.
That's beautiful, man. And that's the last one of the Brick by Brick. In fact, that concludes the Brick by Brick series. Mm-hmm. But just to recap week 4, stability, trust, trials and temptation, peace, growth, oneness, and love. Okay, Kiki. Mm-hmm. This is the last one. You got anything that you feel like that needed to be said in any of the previous episodes or this episode?
I mean, that was a good way to sum it all up to, and like just a quick snapshot, because I mean, it's not just boom here, black and white, what you need to do. I mean, we can write books, we can have ebooks all day, but everybody relationship is different. What we go through as a couple is different, but at the end of the day, having guides and having books and different things to help us along the way, help us feel like we're not alone in it, and that other people tend to go through what we go through, and different vice versa and whatnot. Yeah. And so if you need help, you can always go to God. You can always go to the Bible, because it explains what being in a relationship, what a marriage should look like. But also, when you have small groups, when you have people in your circle, when you have people that you can look up to spread their wisdom and what they went through, and when you have different ebooks, books, whatever you name it, journals, whatever, use it. Counseling, we didn't even mention counseling this whole thing. Never, but it's definitely there for you. And counseling is not just because you're going through trials or you have an issue. It's just to help encourage for you to keep going. So be sure to do that.
That's awesome. And I got something very similar to say. And that is like, yeah, you got to keep God first, y'all. I started this out with God first. Low-key with love, I'm ending it with God as well, because love is completely absent unless God is present. So I'm starting it with love. I started it with God. I'm ending it with God. Y'all, God has to be at the head of your marriage. If you want your marriage to last, if you want your marriage to stand the test of time, if you want the resilience to adapt to who you will become, but also who your spouse will become and what your family will be, God has to be at the head of that. All right, there is no other way. There is no other route, not to be successful in it. Right. So, you guys, please lean on God and just know that He will be faithful. He will keep His promise, and He will light a path so that you can be so you can low-key be a relationship, be a marriage that represents Him and represents His kingdom well. We like to end every episode with words of encouragement. You guys, words of encouragement is exactly what it sounds like. It's us pouring into the people and giving you guys some words of encouragement. Now, before I get into my words of encouragement, Keisha, I will go first, since I guess this is what we're doing now. That's what we're doing now. And y'all, if you're watching the YouTube version, please subscribe to the podcast so that you can stay tuned for our next series. You guys, also, if you're watching the YouTube version, comment below what your favorite part of this particular episode was and what you want us to talk about in the future. Okay. My words of encouragement for the people, you guys, it's nothing. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing out there, but it's consistency, right? You guys got to give yourselves enough time to let the blueprint breathe. Okay, and that's the thing. A lot of y'all probably went through all these. Like I put 7 times 4, 28 different things. 28 different things that I talked about. In reality, it's really like 21. Right, because it wouldn't. A lot of that stuff was kind of more of the same, But the thing is, some of y'all are gonna go through it, and y'all gonna be like, "Yo, that was overwhelming." Some of y'all are gonna go through it, and be like, "Man, I can't do all of this." That's not what I'm trying to get you to do. I'm literally trying to get you to go brick by brick. A house isn't built in a day. Like your relationship won't be built in a day. Like the way your relationship is now is not gonna be able to sustain the long road. But if you work on it every single day, if you lay one brick every single day, then you will have a structure that can withhold the test of time. Brick by brick, consistency, showing up every single day. Just when you lay one brick, just know it's going to be there tomorrow. So you can lay another brick. And just doing that and letting that compound over time, that's what I want you guys to do. Stop trying to do the quick fix. This ain't a microwave relationship. Like we met. Have y'all ever noticed? And I'm gonna let you go. Have you ever noticed that if you microwave food, that it only takes like a couple minutes for it to get cold? You ever notice that? Like it takes no time for food that's been in the microwave to go cold. Like just take it out, throw something in the microwave, put it in there for 30 seconds to a minute. If it actually gets hot, just keep touching it. See how many minutes it takes for it to cool down. Now, when you make a home cooked meal, when you take your time and you put out your ingredients, you set your oven, you start your little Ninja Foodie air fryer 3-in-1 thing that Keisha got for Christmas. When you actually cooking food, like however you actually cook, like when you cook, it stays warm for a long time, hours. It takes a long time for real cooked food to go cold. And the reason I say that is I don't want you to have a microwave relationship. I want you guys to actually take the time, build it right, build it to where it can stand the test of time. Go ahead, baby. I went too long. I went 2 minutes. I apologize, but I wanted y'all to know. Like that's the reason. That's the reason. Go ahead.
All I would say is
in fact, no,
stop. Love does exist, y'all. I know a lot of people get discouraged when these famous couples and couples who've been together a long time decide to call it quits. That's their life. That's their relationship. Don't let that bum you out and say this is not worth it. It's not worth getting into, because that's not true. What is true is, yes, you will go through some hard times maybe, but it takes for your love and your commitment to that person to push through it and to make it work and just to keep going through it, because don't just give up, y'all. Just don't. But yeah, love is out there. Love is real. Love is awesome. So shoot for it.
And you guys heard it here on How's the Fam. Kiki.
Yep.
How's the fam?
We're good.
Fam's all good. Y'all be blessed.
Bye.